One early morning Thor, the god of thunder, woke up in his golden hall. He stretched his arms and was ready to start the day, but then he noticed something terrible. His hammer, Mjölnir, was gone. Thor's hammer was not just any weapon, it was his most powerful tool, the one he used to protect Asgard and all the gods from their enemies. Without it he felt weak and unprotected. Anger rushed through his body. His heart beat faster, his face turned red, and his eyes burned with fury. He shook his long red hair in frustration and stroked his beard, thinking about what to do. Thor searched his hall again, but the hammer was nowhere to be found. Finally, he decided he needed help, and so he went to find Loki. Loki was known as a trickster god. He loved to cause trouble and play tricks, but he was also clever and, deep inside, had a good heart. When Thor found him, he explained the problem. The hammer was missing, and he had no idea who took it or how it disappeared. Thor's voice was filled with worry, and it almost sounded like he was begging Loki to help. Loki thought for a moment and said, "Let's go to Freya. She might know something." Freya was the goddess of beauty, love, and fertility. She was known for her golden hair and her magical powers. When Thor and Loki arrived at her shining palace, they told her about the missing hammer. Freya listened carefully, and then they all agreed. Only the giants from Jotunheim would dare to steal Mjölnir. Loki decided to go to Jotunheim to investigate, but to travel there quickly, he needed Freya's magical falcon feather cloak, which could let him fly through the sky. Freya agreed and gave him the cloak without hesitation. Loki put on the cloak, spread his arms, and transformed into a falcon. The wind carried him across the mountains, over the seas, and into the cold, frozen land of the giants. Soon he spotted Thrym, the king of the frost giants. Thrym was outside his hall, putting leashes on his dogs and brushing the manes of his beautiful horses. When Thrym saw Loki, he laughed and said, "You are too late to ask questions. I took Thor's hammer, and I buried it 8 miles underground where no one can reach it, and I will only return it if Freya herself comes here and marries me." Loki did not waste any time. He flew back to Asgard as fast as the wind. When he arrived, Thor was waiting for him anxiously. Loki told him everything. Thor then went to Freya and repeated Thrym's demand. Freya was furious. Her anger was so strong that her palace shook, and the air around her seemed to tremble. She shouted that she would never marry Thrym. Thor agreed she was right, but he still needed his hammer. Loki thought for a while, and then his eyes lit up with an idea. "We will dress you as Freya," he said. "You will go to Jotunheim pretending to be the bride. When they bring out the hammer to bless the wedding, you can take it back." At first, Thor did not like the idea. The thought of wearing a dress and pretending to be a bride made him uncomfortable, but he knew there was no other way. Finally he agreed. The gods helped him prepare. They put Freya's shining necklace around his neck. They pinned large brooches to his chest and hid his legs under a long flowing dress. They tied a ring of keys to his belt, placed a small hat over his red hair, and covered his face with a bridal veil. Loki disguised himself as a servant and would accompany him to the wedding. When evening came, they traveled to Jotunheim. Thrym welcomed his bride with joy. The giants prepared a great feast with roasted meat, fresh bread, and barrels of sweet mead. Thrym could not take his eyes off Thor, thinking he was Freya, but when Thrym lifted the veil to kiss his bride, he jumped back in shock. "My bride's eyes are so wild," he cried. "I see dangerous fire burning in them." "Quick think," Loki explained. "She is just so excited about the wedding that she has not slept for 8 nights. Thrym calmed down and smiled again. "Then bring the mighty hammer of Thor to bless our marriage," he commanded. "We will hold it while we join hands, so it may give us happiness." Moments later, Mjölnir was brought into the hall. The instant Thor saw it, his heart filled with joy and power. He grabbed the hammer with both hands, threw off his veil, and revealed who he really was. With one mighty swing, he struck down Thrym. Then he turned to the other giants and defeated them one by one. When the fight was over, Thor stood tall, holding Mjölnir high in the air. His hammer and his power had returned to him. Asgard was safe once again.